Welcome, Gunrunner.
We are 5 years away from entering the 21st century. Humankind stands on the edge of the interactive age. You have come a long way. But are you ready for the future?
Introducing Sega Saturn. Aww. Hit it! Sega's next-generation gaming platform, revolutionary sports and arcade gameplay, all with amazing new 3D experiences never before possible on home game systems. Wow.
Sega Saturn. It's how you play the game.
What's happening?
Sega
Saturn!
Go farther than you have ever gone before. Sega Saturn. Play your games in the 21st century and leave the rest of the world behind.
When talking about unreleased Sega consoles and hardware, there's a whole period that starts towards the end of the Mega Drive's life and the start of the Dreamcast's much shorter one that is literally a graveyard of failed projects. In many ways this shows the poor state of the once great company was in, with all the different factions of Sega arguing with each other, most notably the huge disagreements between the Japanese and American divisions of the company, and the sheer desperation to hold on to their leading market share. It all started really with the Mega CD, Sega's answer to the PC Engine Super CD-ROM, that initially offered a lot of promise but soon floundered due to Sega's obsession with trying to push FMV games on an add-on that really wasn't well suited to them due to the colour restrictions, among other things.
Hey, relax. Pretend it's a game. Maybe it'll even be fun.
Then we had the 32X, yet another add-on for the Mega Drive that was Sega of America's answer to the threat of the Atari Jaguar and 3DO, which would also serve as a stopgap until the Saturn was ready. With this platform they also got the game choices very wrong indeed. In 1994 nobody wanted to play arcade perfect conversions of Space Harrier and Afterburner. These were games that should have been made for the Mega CD before it. Believing the Saturn wasn't the answer, Sega of America then ploughed ahead with the Neptune, an all-in-one Mega Drive and 32X that would have competed directly with the Saturn. If you want to know more about this console, then you'll be pleased to know that I covered it in a previous story or video. Just click the link in the top right hand corner to give it a watch. And that leads us on to the aforementioned Saturn, Sega's true next generation platform that was set to compete head to head with Sony's first proper entry into the console market, the PlayStation. I say proper because despite what most people think, it was far from the first console Sony had launched. And that's another story I've covered before, you know what to do. The Saturn was plagued with issues that left it handicapped from the moment it hit the market. There was the underpowered hardware that had been botched to make it more comparable to the PlayStation, thus making it harder to develop for. Then there was a distinct lack of a proper Sonic game, as well as other leading Sega franchises like Outrun and Streets of Rage. Then, of course, there was the horribly handled launch that was brought forward to surprise Sony, but ended up alienating all the retailers who didn't get to be part of it.
Welcome to the theater of the eye. 500,000 polygons a second.
Me.
16 million colors. Wreak some havoc in your head.
Sega Saturn.
So that leads us on nicely to the real story of this week's documentary, the Sega Saturn II. I know what you're all thinking. Why on earth would Sega plan a new version of a console that was already failing, especially when the Dreamcast wasn't far behind? Well, I'll endeavour to answer that question and more as I tell this terrific tale. As early as 1997, just 2 years after the Saturn's launch, various rumours began to circulate that Sega were already working on a successor. Among the many things reported was that this would be a 64-bit super console with state-of-the-art silicon graphics quality 3D and online gaming capabilities. Now these particular rumours very much seem to be pointing towards the Dreamcast, but there were other reports that talked about a 64-bit upgrade of the Saturn that was spec'd for online gaming while remaining backwards compatible, so it's safe to say that consumers were left feeling pretty confused. The truth is actually that Sega were working on both, but this has only come to light in more recent years, when two very different prototypes of the Saturn II surfaced and could be analysed further. Also known as the Sega Pluto, keeping in line with the planet-based naming theme, the Saturn II was designed to achieve several different things. Firstly, it featured a much sleeker and less bulky design, and had been found in two different colours, satin black and a Dreamcast-like white. It is believed that the white model is much earlier than the black one, as it's nothing more than a mock-up case with no working parts and also appears to be missing the modem port from the back, that would have allowed it to be connected to the internet. The black model has this, as well as a complete working motherboard including the Netlink modem. The black model has also been shown to be fully working and playing games like a normal machine. It's also interesting to discover that this unit has a North American BIOS, meaning it was obviously intended to be launched in that market first, where the Saturn was struggling most. Although the Netlink modem had already been launched in the West, it was never officially supported like it was in Japan. The North American version slotted into the Saturn's cartridge slot, where it could then be connected via dial-up. You then had to call the person you wanted to play, rather than connecting to a special server as you'd expect. Whilst the Japanese version saw you connect to the SegaNet service first, where you could then connect to other gamers, use the internet, download software, or use other services such as online banking. The SegaNet service would later be transferred over to the Dreamcast. The only advantage of the North American system is that it can still be used today, as it doesn't require a server, just two Saturn owners connected to a phone line with a Netlink modem at each end. It would be really interesting to find out if anyone watching this still uses it. Another thing that is very much worth noting is that two prototypes of the black unit have since been discovered. While both share all the same common parts and seem to have a virtually identical design, one unit is labelled Sega Pluto on the underside, while the other is marked as Saturn II.
Who gives you raging arcade gameplay? Who gives you the most authentic sports games? Who gives you a game that lets you fly? And who gives you access to the internet on your TV? Play games, surf the net, only on Sega Saturn.
So in summary, it seems that the Sega Pluto is nothing more than a code name, as many had suspected, and in fact the Sega Saturn II, to use its proper moniker, was an all-in-one unit that contained the regular Sega Saturn hardware as well as a Netlink modem in a cost-reduced design that was squarely aimed at the highly competitive North American market. Despite numerous attempts to get an answer, Sega have thus far declined to comment on how far into production this project got, and exactly why it was cancelled. We can only speculate that the rapidly declining Sega Saturn market in the West, that had also been hit hard by the launch of the Nintendo 64, was one of two major contributing factors, with the other one being the fast-track development of the Sega Dreamcast, which wasn't a long way behind. In my personal opinion, I really think that Sega should have gone ahead with the Saturn II, but released the console in two different forms, both with and without the Netlink modem. Although it would have been interesting to see just how cost-reduced the latter could have been when compared to the price of the Sony PlayStation. While I don't believe the Saturn II could have saved Sega's fortunes at this time, I do believe it would have helped stabilise them, and the online play angle would have given it a big draw when compared to what the competition was doing, giving the Saturn a genuine point of difference over its rivals. But I would love to know what you think. Do you think the Sega should have gone ahead and launched the Saturn II, or were they right to just abandon the platform in favour of accelerating development of the Dreamcast? Please let me know in the comments. But before I go, I must thank all of my loyal patrons for continuing to support my channel and make videos like this possible. However, I must give special thanks to the following patrons for their ongoing pledges: Funder Fundington, John DiLiberto, Carl Olsen, Mark Lawrence, Mr. Kaboto and Coldar Fusion. New rewards have gone out to all of you this week. If you want to also help support my creative endeavours, including this YouTube channel, then please go and check out my Patreon right now. You can get access to a host of extra content, including downloads, exclusive videos, creative insights and much more besides. I've been the Laird, and I thank you for watching, and I'll see you all again for another video very soon.